What's going on, everyone? My name's Tenebris Infinite, and today I'm going to give you dudes some quick and easy tips on how to farm the newly introduced resource Accelerant here in Generation 0. In the Landfall update, a huge effort was put towards making respawnable resources no longer respawn, meaning that now we have to farm things the kind of tried and true old-fashioned way. And on top of that change, the newly introduced Accelerant is used for all of your healing resources in the game. So I figured it would be a good idea to go through the game and figure out the most optimal methods of farming the newly introduced resource and getting just absolute tons of it so that way you can have infinite medkits all over again. So first up, the best method, in my opinion, of getting Accelerant is farming it through set pieces of machines and cars. You can get Accelerant off of these permanent set piece fixtures across your map, as well as the permanent car fixtures across your map that respawn their loot every 4 hours. So that means that every 4 hours you can do this big run, gather up a whole bunch of Accelerant, and along the way gather up resources that you can also break down for even more Accelerant on top of that. Just like all the other resources in Generation 0, there's this, kind of stockpiling effect that happens. The more that you gather and the more sources of it that you have, the more you're able to gather and the more you're able to stockpile. And so Accelerant currently has quite a few methods of obtaining it, which means that gathering large amounts of it is not overly difficult, but it's still something that you're going to have to grind out. But it wouldn't be a proper video of mine if I wasn't giving you some sort of an extra leg up. So over here in Oosterhallen, it turns out that a bunch of the machines have duplicated spawns for their set pieces. You'll find 3 runners to a bunch. So it's actually probably one of the best spots in the map to go to. As well, you have a whole bunch of doggos around it that are set spawns that will spawn there every time you quit to menu and then pop back into the game and I believe fast travel to the location, but it might even just be on a fresh QTM. Oosterhallen's just over here on Himfell Island. If you haven't been there yet or you don't have the DLC, buy that DLC. Then, to me, what the next best method of obtaining Accelerant is from downed machines. And to me, this is the next best method because sometimes, or probably most of the time, you'll have to use medkits in order to fight those machines. And in the process, you can wind up using more medkits than maybe the Accelerant you're gaining, or RNG can be crappy to you. But either way, when you are farming Accelerant off of machines, the thing to kind of keep in mind is the higher class the machine and the bigger the machine is, the more Accelerant you're able to get. So currently that means that your best bets for Accelerant are going off to Apocalypse class tanks and Apocalypse class harvesters and hoping that RNGesus comes through for you. But the other thing too is keeping this in mind, you can go off to smaller machines of higher classes and still gather pretty decent amounts of Accelerant. You can also use this with harvester hunter farming, basically farming the hunters that the harvester calls down. Going off to Apocalypse class harvesters and then farming their hunters is actually probably one of the fastest, best methods of Accelerant, but still, when you're dealing with machine drops, you're just dealing with RNG. When you start combining together all of these, farming set pieces, farming down machines, and then gathering up extra resources to break down at the same time, it does actually stockpile rather quickly, even though there could be better methods of obtaining Accelerant added in the future, and that's something that we'll talk about later on in the video. Now, on top of the harvester hunter farming, we now also have wolf lynx farming, or just lynx farming. And this is another excellent approach to obtaining Accelerant and resources to break down for lots of Accelerant. The Spetsnaz class lynx drop advanced medkits. So they are a very plentiful source of advanced medkits that you can then take and either use for yourself while you're gathering just the raw accelerant, or you can break down into even more accelerant. Also, geez man, how many times am I going to say the word accelerant in this video? A good method of obtaining surplus healing items in this game is by going off to harvester drop stations. These guys have a very wide loot table, allowing you to obtain just tons of healing items that you can then take and either break down or use. Going off to areas with a lot of machine set pieces is a really good bet of farming a decent amount of accelerant. And the good thing is these respawn their resources every 4 hours, so that means that you're able to make loops through these locations and just kind of pay attention to how long you've been playing for. You know, I find breaking it up into like couple hour sessions is a good way of managing things. And then, after you're done doing your loops and storing all of your items in the Plundra, provided you aren't hit with that really nasty Plundra storage glitch, hopefully that gets fixed soon, but you can come on over to the recycling station and start breaking down the surplus items that you have, whether it's medkits or fuel cells. It's just medkits and fuel cells as of right now that you can break down for it. But I find that the medkits are just a much more efficient approach if you are going to be breaking down crafting materials. Medkits are just way more surplus than fuel cells, and the large fuel cells are better left for traps anyway. Really quickly though, before we show you the recycling portion here, I was able to gather most of my accelerant here just by farming cars and set pieces. Machines do give pretty decent dumps every once in a while, but there's a lot of other resources you can get from machines, whereas with the set pieces, it's just a little bit more efficient, especially with the time management and everything like that, to just go off and do a couple rounds, especially through the new Soviet camps where you can farm downed wolves and stuff as set pieces. But still, recycling these advanced medkits wasn't too bad, at least. And as a final aside here for crafting, looking through the crafting recipes here, it really doesn't cost very much accelerant at all in order to craft these medkits, and even including the advanced medkits and stuff. You know, 16 accelerant really isn't too bad. So, in the end, I think utilizing these tips and keeping these things in mind, it'll be pretty easy for us all to amass large amounts of accelerant here. But here at the end of the video, before we kind of summarize things, I'd just like to say that the team is planning on bringing more resources to be items that we pick up in the world. And I think that this would be a perfect opportunity to bring further purpose to gas stations. We could loot gas stations and loot the gas pumps themselves for accelerant, and I think that that would be pretty cool. Maybe getting like somewhere from like 8 to 14 per fuel pump or something like that, and that could again go on to the same item cooldown timer as all the other items and stuff. I think it would be a really nice touch of obtaining accelerant here. So, to summarize here at the end of the video, machine set pieces and cars offer a awesome recurring resource of accelerant that you can go off and farm every 4 hours as the resources respawn. Next up, if you're going to be farming machines, go for high class large machines, so harvesters or tanks. Alongside that, you can go off and farm hunters or lynx of a high class, being Spetsnaz or Apocalypse or Phoenix, for decent returns. And then, lastly, you can break down surplus medkits and healing items for more accelerant. So, my dudes, let me know what you think about the new resource accelerant. Do you enjoy its introduction? I think that it's kind of nice, it's a good change of pace, and I enjoy just having something new to farm in the game. Also, what do you think about my idea for the gas stations and stuff? We're going to be going more in depth on that topic of picking up resources in the world in a future video here on my channel, so make sure you're subscribed if you haven't. But for now, thank you for being awesome, and I will catch you all in the next one. Until then, peace.